All right. Good morning. We are just getting ready to do our virtual book tour live author. Oh, having trouble streaming to members only, as usual. Okay. Let's get all the streams streaming, and we're going to have some fun today and tomorrow. If you don't know yet, now you know. It is our virtual book tour, and that means it's our book launch day. And let me just get my streams going here. And yes, we are excited. We are here today for the launch of The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. This is our brand new book on all things neurolinguistic programming, mindset, subconscious mind, success. We have myself and 19 other expert authors in here, experts on things like neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, coaching, health, energy, across the board. And we just have a wonderful, wonderful group of authors who have come together, put their heart and soul into this book. And I know you're going to love it. Now, here's the thing. This book is on sale today, and it's only $6.81. And the reason that I bring that up, the reason I mention that is because for that $6.81, you're not only going to get a book that's potentially going to change your life, right? You're also going to get over $1,000 in gifts from myself and the other authors. And that's because we want to push this book to #1 bestseller, right? I personally believe, I don't know about you, I personally believe that a book on neurolinguistic programming and on mindset and success and all of these other things, it should be a #1 book, right? We need to get the word out there because there are people in the world right now who are hurting. The world has 8 billion people who mostly are struggling in their lives and hurting. And so I think that we should get a good book, right? A book that will actually change people's lives to #1. The way to do that is to go to getcourage.net. Getcourage.net. That's where the book is today. The book is just $6.81. That's absolutely the cheapest that we could make it. And you will not only get the book, but $1,000 in launch gifts. Now, when I talk about gifts, I'm not just talking about like, oh, here's a 3-page PDF that we said is worth $1,000, right? I'm actually giving away one of my courses that I normally charge $197 for. That's not a contrast price. That's the actual price that we charge for it, right? That's how committed we are to getting this book to be a bestseller and to get the word out there about neurolinguistic programming, the subconscious mind, success, and all of the other things. And pardon me while I'm trying to share into our group because, of course, the live stream didn't work. And so I'm trying to multitask here at the same time. So we're really, really excited about this. We all put our heart and soul into this book, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. And so again, here's the book. It's called The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. And I can't seem to share it into the group. Oh, here we go, group. And you're absolutely going to love the book. And let's see, virtual book tour. Let me just share this in there really quick so people in our group can actually see it. And yes, I wrote my chapter. My chapter is chapter #1, and it's called It's All in Your Mind. Now, here's the funny thing about it, right? If you talk to anybody about any problem they have and you tell them, don't worry, it's all in your mind. How do most people take that, right? Most people don't take it too well. And they go, whoa, are you telling me I'm making all this up? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't mean you're making it up. Even physical pain, by the way. I have worked with people under doctor referral for physical pain, things like chronic back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, all kinds of pains, right? And they've been to doctors, they've been to specialists, and the specialists say, we can't really find anything wrong. And then people get mad. They go, are you saying I'm making it up? No, I'm not saying you're making it up. Just because it's all in your mind doesn't mean you're making it up. And this takes me back to one of my favorite quotes from the field of neurolinguistic programming, well, predating the field of neurolinguistic programming, which was in the 1950s, Dr. Milton H. Erickson, who was one of the world's most renowned psychiatrists, as well as a clinical hypnotherapist. He said, at one point, I realized that all of my clients' problems are simply metaphors. Now, what is a metaphor? A metaphor is a story, right? That's ultimately what a metaphor is. And what Milton was essentially saying was that most of the problems that we have in our lives are not the thing outside of ourselves that tell us that we have a problem. It's the story we're telling ourselves about what's going on in our life, right? And this is why you can see some people that seemingly have no problems in their life whatsoever, right? They seem to sail through life. And you have other people that seem to struggle with almost everything that they do, right? What is the difference between those two people? And here's the thing that most people don't realize. Those two people may experience the same circumstances, right? One person might say, the person who is struggling a lot might say, no, you don't understand. This thing happened to me in my life. And if you talk to the person who's sailing through life, you'll find, they had the same situation, but not the same experience. And this is where the power of neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy and all of these other modalities come in, right? Is that we realize that if you can change your mind, you change your life. And that's really what this book is all about, right? The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset, Conquer Every Obstacle. This is all about the fact that there are certain things in your life that are going to make you afraid. Matter of fact, there are a lot of things in life that can make you afraid. And there are some people who are afraid of those things, and then there are other people who aren't afraid of those things, or seemingly not afraid of those things, right? And what we notice is that the people who have courage, right? It's not the people who lack fear. There are very few people in the world who lack fear, unless you've trained yourself, right? Unless you've really, really worked on yourself. Most people don't lack fear. But what people do have is courage. And a lot of people think that courage is the absence of fear, but it's actually not. Right? Courage is the willingness to do it even if you're afraid. And very often from a place of courage, when you push forward and you take that first step and that second step and that third step and you keep going, you realize that that thing that was in front of you that you thought you were afraid of was an illusion. And you just push through it. And this is very often the difference between people who are successful in life and people who are not successful in life, right? Now, for me personally, I developed a lot of my courage when I was homeless, right? There comes a point where you've been through so much that you realize that none of that stuff hurt me. None of that stuff killed me, right? And when you go through enough of those things, hey, that didn't kill me. Hey, that didn't kill me. Hey, that didn't kill me, right? Your subconscious mind, which tends to act like every little thing in your life is a saber-toothed tiger who's there to tear your throat out, right? It really isn't a saber-toothed tiger. And this is the thing that so many of our fears that we have in life, yes, you should fear saber-toothed tigers. Yes, you should fear king cobras. Yes, you should fear if you're in an alleyway and somebody's pointing a gun at you and sticking you up for your wallet. But you know what most people fear in their life? They fear these big, scary, dangerous things like getting a new job so they don't hate their job. These huge, scary, terrifying things like falling in love. These are the kinds of things that people fear. And it turns out that those things are actually shouldn't be fearful at all. And this is where the power of courage comes in. And the problem is that most people have just never been taught how to have courage, right? People think that courage is a trait that some people have and other people don't have. But it turns out that's not the case. And that's what this book will teach you. The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset, and Conquer Every Obstacle. There are 20 chapters in here, including my chapter. Each of these chapters is going to teach you how to have courage in your life, either through specific principles, specific techniques, or specific stories of inspiration and influence. And I'm going to spend the next couple hours here on Saturday interviewing the first half of the authors from this book. We got our first one coming up, Tony Liu. Tony happens to be my lawyer. He's an amazing lawyer from Focus Law. And Tony is going to come on in a few minutes and talk about his chapter. And so throughout the next couple, I think 2.5 hours, we're going to be here interviewing the authors. So you're going to get to know everybody who wrote the book. And then tomorrow, we're going to be back here at the same time, same bat place, same bat channel. And we're going to interview the second half of the authors tomorrow. And so stick around. This is definitely a whole lot better than watching Netflix. I can tell you that. I don't know if anybody's watching Netflix at 9 o'clock in the morning, but there are a lot of other things that you could be doing that are not nearly as empowering as what we're going to do here for the next couple hours. And I really encourage you to go get the book, right? The book launch is this weekend. We just started at midnight Eastern time. And we are here to launch the book, The Courage to Win. And if you ask me, I think it's about time that a neurolinguistic programming book gets to be on the bestseller list at Amazon. And what we're really pushing for is the #1 bestseller. Let's see if we can do it, right? Let's see if the little guy like us can actually get a book to #1. Now, don't buy the book at Amazon, right? Our goal is to get to #1 bestseller on Amazon, but here's the important thing. If you go to Amazon and buy it, you're not going to get the gifts. Okay. The way that you get the 1,000 gifts, and these are gifts that me and the other authors of the book have put together as a thank you, some might call it a bribe, a thank you for helping us during launch day to push this book up the rankings. There's $1,000 in gifts. And I personally am giving away a $200, $197 course that I sell online. That's the actual price we sell it for. It's called Mindset to Profit. And it's going to help you fix your mindset around money, wealth, abundance, and profit. Right, which is something that most people need. I normally charge $197 for this, but you can get it for just $6.18 today when you get the book, The Courage to Win. The way to get it, this is important. Don't go to Amazon to get it. Don't go straight there. I want you to go to getcourage.net. Go to getcourage.net, click on Get It, and there's a 3-step instruction set there, right? Just 3 simple steps to get the book and get the gifts. And so let's put that in the comments here. Whoops. And of course I commented the wrong thing. That was a weird little comment there. Nobody knows what that was. That was my shortcut key that was supposed to trigger a comment and it didn't. So, oh, that's because I typed the wrong letters. That's why. So again, the place to get this is www.getcourage.net. While you're there, you can also read about the authors, all of the bios there. You can see all our pictures. You can read about the book and everything else. And we're going to have an absolute blast today. So today is the first 10 authors, including me. This is my time slot here. My chapter is called It's All in Your Mind. And I talk about how, most people think that courage is a trait. It's something that people have. But in actuality, courage is not a trait. Courage is a mindset and courage is a behavior, right? And I talk about how I got courage, right, from my own personal story and some of the ways that I developed courage when I didn't even realize I was doing it. And then I talk about how you can develop courage on purpose, right? And that's the thing, is that courage, if you expect courage to be something you have, like you have change in your pocket, like you have a car in your driveway, right? It's not something you have. Courage is actually something you do. And that's an important distinction, right? And so the problem is that so often people are waiting to have courage when in actuality they should be doing courage. And that's what I talk about here in my chapter. We've got 19 other amazing co-authors as well. And I'm going to share my screen here and show you really quick. Let's, I need to pop this out into its own window. I always forget to do that. So I can share my screen. And when you go to getcourage.net, this is what you're going to see as I select. Nope, that's not it. Hang on a second. Present, share screen. Here we go. Well, now I can't find the window. I think that's it. Yay, there we go. All right, here's what you're going to see when you go there, getcourage.net. You're going to see this website right here, this big green button. Click Get the Paperback Now. When you click that, it's going to take you over to the instructions. Very simple 3-step instructions. You're going to get the book on Amazon, and then you're going to mail your receipt to our email address. And that's how we're going to know that you bought the book, and that's how we're going to give you the gifts. And so we are excited. We've got 48 hours here to push our book as high as we can before the book launch is over. And so I'm really, really excited to bring on our first guest. Our first guest is someone very special to me. He's not only a very good friend, he's also our lawyer at focuslawla.com, and a damn good lawyer at that. And his name is Tony Liu. And so, Tony, welcome to the stage.
Hello, Michael. I'm so glad I'm able to join you in Japan, coming from Japan.
Yes. Yeah, Tony is on a special trip to Japan. His wife is asleep, so he's got to be kind of quiet because it's like crazy time over. What time is it over there?
It's about 1:15 a.m. over here. So,
well, thank you for staying awake for us.
I love it.
So Tony is a business litigation attorney focused on guiding entrepreneurs through complex issues and high stakes transactions with an advanced degree in tax, trial advocacy, and real estate finance. He combines legal precision with financial insight. His dedication is personal, inspired, and witnessing his parents' struggles with toxic business relationships really inspired him. Tony's mission is to help business owners transform obstacles into opportunities, ensuring their secure and successful future. Now, Tony's chapter is called A Lawyer's Journey from Fear to Fuel. Tony recounts his personal and professional transformation during the COVID-19 pandemic. Initially paralyzed by uncertainty when the courts closed and the clients disappeared, he chose to adapt and serve rather than succumb to fear. By engaging with a community of entrepreneurial lawyers and focusing on leadership and resilience, Tony reframed chaos into clarity, turning fear into motivation. And through these actions centered on service, raising his standards, and redefining his purpose, he not only sustained his law practice, but also grew it, ultimately discovering a deeper sense of mission and identity. Tony, welcome. Tell us what inspired you to write your chapter in this book.
Well, I never thought that the pandemic such as COVID-19 gonna exist in my lifetime. I never thought about that, but it happened. And that was the period of time that I see myself that I was able to really conquer the fear. And truly, like I was like every other business owner. I didn't know what I'm gonna do after the government announced that you had to close your office and all the employees has to work from home. And it's kind of like suddenly, my clients mostly are business owners, and they are deeply affected by all these stay-home orders, right? Many of them had to pivot, and suddenly the phone just stopped ringing. And I wrote this chapter is because I want to inspire other businesses that with every opportunities or with every problem that we are facing, there is always a opportunity on the other side of the problem. And that's how I focus on that opportunity instead of the shutdown, the the pandemic, that nobody's working, everybody has to stop. Pretty much entire workforce has to be, stopped in a screeching halt. And instead of focusing on that, I chose to focus on the opportunity. And just like what you said earlier, take one step at a time. And I was able to really not only turn around, helping a lot of people going through this process, but at the same time, help my business grow as well in a significant way. So it is really, and don't take me the wrong way, but it is a period of time that is most memorable in the sense that I finally realized my power. And that's something that I would like to share. Yes.
I love it. One of the things you talk about in your book is the practice of dressing up daily and how that impacted your mindset and leadership during these challenging times that we had. So can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think dressing up is putting suits and tie to work every day. I mean, it is kind of like my uniform, right? As a lawyer. But sometimes we kind of like, we like to be comfortable. So if we don't go to court, we tend to dress casually in the office, right? If we don't see clients. But I decide not to. I decided to raise my standard in the sense that I want to commit myself for a year to just pursue and tie. Not only it helps me to be more confident when I dress well, and based on the state of confidence, I was able to make better decisions. I was more productive, and I just think more clear. And I think I refer that my suits are like my Superman cape. Once I put it on, I got my Superman power, in a sense. But I think more importantly is that I learned what it means by making a commitment.
Mm.
Okay. And just that small things, right? I want to wear suits 5 days a week, no matter what, unless it's raining hard outside, right? Um, so because I made a commitment, um, I have to wake up earlier. I have to there are a few days that I kind of don't feel like to wake up early and dress up to
Mhm.
work. Sometimes I kind of like there's a little not invoice, the voice in my head and say, you know what, I'm not going to see client anyways. Why am I dressing up? But
Right.
it is moving forward because you committed to this process and you're doing it despite this little voice inside of your head telling you you don't have to.
Mm.
Why you had to, make all this trouble dressing up? It's these little things. I learned what commitment really means,
Mm.
and that's really kind of helped me in a sense. Not only um, help me in a business growth and how other people see me as well.
That's so powerful. I think commitment is one of the superpowers, especially when it comes to business. I can always
Oh
tell if
yes.
somebody's going to succeed based on how they make commitments and how they honor commitments. Because
Mhm.
there are a lot of people who make lots of commitments and then they don't honor them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you deal
Yeah.
with that
True.
quite a bit as an attorney.
Yeah, it's one of those things that once you're committed, you got to do it no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And if you know the challenges coming ahead, you need to plan for it, and make sure you follow through your commitment. So
Yeah.
that process alone, it really helped me um, understand what commitment is and help me to grow that muscle. So I'm getting stronger and stronger once I commit myself to do certain tasks or move or set up certain goals, I'm able to have that muscle to make sure I follow through.
I love it. During the pandemic, especially from business owners, one of the words that we heard a lot, like to the point
Mm,
of like, I don't ever want to hear this word again, was the word pivot, right?
mhm,
Businesses were all pivoting during the pandemic, but you did something a little bit different. You pivoted your purpose.
mhm.
Talk about what role redefining your purpose played in transforming your approach to both your practice and your client relationships.
Um, yeah. So I used to pride myself as a trial attorney, right? Um, it, it, it's just sexy when you say I'm a trial attorney, right? Um, but during the pandemic, because I had to do something different, and I really focused on helping the business owners and help them to go through this process. So my entire business model is really solving problems.
Mm,
So is no, even though I'm still a trial attorney and I hold myself out as that, but that's not important. The title is not that important anymore. The important thing is like, what can I do today to move my clients uh, one step ahead of the time, or moving to a better place than before, right?
mm,
So every week when my team get together and talk about the progress of the case, and we always talk about is client better off 1 month ago, right?
mm,
And if the answer is yes, we continue on, make sure the next month is even better. If not, then we have to ask ourselves why not, and how come the client is not moving to a better place than a month ago, right? So that's kind of how we do audit of this case. So in the sense of pivot, we really focus more on being a lawyer versus being a counselor. That really focus on moving clients, increase, help them to solve their problems and improve their positions, in the future.
mm. I love that. I think a lot of times people, they think that purpose is something they have to go out and find somewhere. But, very
Yeah,
often you just get to redefine your purpose. You get to choose your purpose. And that's such a powerful lever for what you're doing in your business.
sure. And I have to tell you this, Michael. It is during the pandemic. I finally realized, like what you said, why I always attract to this type of cases, right? And I finally has a very clear vision of why I'm doing what I do.
Mm.
And before I didn't know why, I tried a lot of different area of law, but I always come back to a business cases because somehow I attract a lot of those cases. Finally, during 2021, I was attending a conference, and before it starts, I was sitting in a hotel lobby thinking about it, and suddenly it clicks, right? Suddenly it clicks that I went through witnessing my parents growing up, witnessing my parents getting one bad deal after another,
Mm.
right? Frankly, they get into the business partnership, being belittled, being cheated, and I saw my dad really the self-esteem just kind of like don't flush down to the toilet, right?
Mm.
I walked through my parents' bedroom once, and I was listening to my dad how explaining why the $50,000 he invested in this business has none of his name is on it, right? He
Oh,
has
wow.
absolutely no interest, and he found out 6 months ago. And I and my brother and his sister has spent entire summer to get the store ready for the opening, right? So we pretty much worked day and night for the entire summer for that.
Mm.
And listening to my dad explain to my mom how that happened and explain to us, why we spent a whole summer and end up to be a fraud. Um, and at that time, I really know that it's not easy,
Mm.
for him, for not just him, people who got into this kind of situation. There's always a issue with their family, and that's where I'm digging in. Make sure that not only I solve their legal problem, but also make their personal problem underneath that legal problem a little bit more smooth, so they
Yeah.
can turn their chapters without
Wow.
weight in their shoulder.
I love it. So we are here promoting our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Of course, Tony Liu is one of the co-authors of that book. And you can get the book at www.getcourage.net. Help us get this book to bestseller today. We're going to give you $1,000 in gifts, valuable gifts from the authors as a thanks for helping us. So Tony, let everybody know, who do you like to work with? And how can people get in touch with you if they want to follow you or work with you?
Thank you, Michael. So we as a business law firms, we not only litigate things, but we empower business owners and entrepreneurs to break free from dishonest partners and in the deceptive transaction, so that they can restore the control, the clarity, and most importantly, the reputation between uh, their families and themselves, right? The peace of mind. And beyond solving what's already have gone wrong, we help the business owner to spot the red flags early on so that they can make informed, secure, and confident decisions so that they don't have to go into a situation like what my dad went through. And to discover how we can help you to take better control and move forward with confidence, you can visit us at www.focuslawla.com or call us at 714-415-2007. Just simply ask to talk to me, and my team will ensure that we will schedule a time that works the best for you, and we can start to have that conversation.
I'm Michael.
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry about that. I'd like to introduce our next author, Marta Kasai. Martha is a religious refugee who fled communism to the U.S. with her family, sponsored by the Mazdaznan movement. She attended Mount San Antonio Junior College and Pomona College, later earning a PhD in chemistry. So she's a smart one at UC Berkeley under Nobel laureate Melvin Calvin. Her career began at DuPont in medical products, followed by a leadership role in biotech and pharmaceuticals, ultimately becoming head of project management at Watson Pharmaceuticals. After leaving the corporate world, she started a cosmetics business and is certified in NLP, clinical hypnotherapy, and as a success and life coach, helping people achieve their full potential. Welcome, Marta.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
I'm so excited.
Yay. So in Marta's chapter, Home of the Brave, Marta recounts her journey from witnessing a traumatic accident as a child in Budapest, which ignited her dream of becoming a doctor, to fleeing communism in Hungary with her family as religious refugees. Settling in the United States, she pursued studies in chemistry, ultimately earning that degree. Despite facing gender biases in a male-dominated field, Marta's perseverance led to groundbreaking research in cancer studies under Nobel laureate Melvin Calvin. Her story highlights themes of resilience, courage, and the pursuit of dreams against formidable odds. So, Marta, tell us, what was it that inspired you to write the chapter in this book?
Well, I think it was the title, the courage to win, because I had to have a lot of courage, and I thought that my story might inspire others to have the courage to face obstacles, difficulties in life, and know that you can conquer all obstacles, as long as you have the confidence, the willpower, and God's help. So that's really the reason I did that.
I love it. And this is your second time in a book with us, which I absolutely love to have you back. And so one of the things you talk about in your chapter is witnessing a traumatic event at a young age with a streetcar, and how, something that happens at such a young age can shape our life, but not only our career. And so talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I was only 6 years old when this happened, and I was looking out the window and I saw the streetcar, this is in Budapest, hit this woman, and there was blood all over, and it was just a strong desire in me kind of welled up that I want to help this woman, and I want to run down and help. Of course, we were on the 5th floor, so it was a little difficult to run down for a 6-year-old. But I had that desire, and immediately I thought, I'm going to be a medical doctor. And so throughout my whole life, I wanted to help people. And I write this in the book, how I changed to chemistry, but I still work in the medical products department and later in pharmaceuticals. So I now entered in a new field of NLP. And I'm really passionate about that because I see I can help others in a different way, and that maybe even closer to me than surgery or other kind of medical profession would be. People always came to me and told their stories without me asking them, and confided in me things that you wouldn't want, even strangers. So, and it helped them. So anyway, that's really, I'm really passionate about this.
I love it. So your journey from non-English speaking immigrant to earning a PhD in chemistry at a prestigious university is remarkable. What strategies or mindsets helped you overcome the language barriers and other barriers to excel in your studies in a new country?
Well, I think number one reason was freedom. That freedom from oppression that I experienced in communism, where everything was controlled by the government. You could only apply for one university at a time. I mean, everything was so constrained. So I was like liberated when I came to the US, and everyone understood freedom here. And I just thought, well, the world is open for me. I can do whatever I want here. So all this suppressed energy kind of came forward. And I was really looking back at it. I said, how did I have all this energy? And, my faith also a huge contributor.
That's so powerful. And, I think just, having faith in anything, I think is important, and certainly your faith was important to you. And so often I find people lack faith. If they think about doing something, the first thing they think of is everything that could go wrong. And so how did you develop this faith?
Well, I think my parents had a lot to do with it. And they were very positive. And I think because Mazdasnam was founded in America, in California, Los Angeles, we actually learned the American attitude in Hungary through that faith. And I discovered that many of the songs we did at our meetings were American songs translated into Hungarian, of course. But it's really, I think that also communism, the only outlet you have where you feel safe is going to church.
Mhm.
The government is not there, and put your faith in God. And that is a very, very deep point in everyone, very private, but also gives you confidence that you, with God's help, you can do anything you set your mind to.
I love that. In your chapter, you mentioned a pivotal moment when your family arrived in LA and you were greeted with unexpected warmth and support. How did that initial experience in the US shape your perception of the country and influence your future endeavors?
Well, I thought I arrived to heaven because the plane flew over the Pacific Ocean and the sun just went down. And when it turned around, it flew over LA, the Hollywood area, and everything was lit up, including swimming pools. This was before the energy crisis. So it was like so much light. I'm going like, wow, where did I come, And then we got on the freeway and it had 5 lanes going like, and this huge car of Lincoln Continental. I was like, oh, the most in Europe was 2 lanes. That was the German Autobahn. So it was like unbelievable. And the people were so friendly. Californians always say hi with a smile. And in Germany, where we started from our flight, they very serious people, and I just felt at home here.
I love it. You talk about in the book, a situation which, thankfully has improved quite a bit in the world today, but certainly in the past has been a big problem and still is one today. But, gender bias. You worked in a male-dominated field of chemistry and during your time at UC Berkeley. So how did you navigate those challenges, and what advice would you give to young women facing similar obstacles in their professional lives today?
Yeah, very good question, Michael. I actually was very naive. 'Cause, my parents never made me feel like I was different in terms of uh, my goals just because I am a woman. And one of the thing of communism is that they don't say they distinguish between man and woman, and you can have all you want. So I didn't have the idea that I'm going to college to find my husband, that a lot of American women do. And it's kind of a suggestion. So many of people, many women who got to graduate school felt like, uh, oh, well, I found my sweetheart, so I'm going to get married, and they left. And that wasn't my goal. My goal was to get my PhD, and the professors did not believe that I will finish. So that was the big obstacle, and you just have to read the chapter. I can tell you everything, right? So, how I actually overcome that stubborn belief on the part of the first professor that I'm not going to make it. So, but I did.
That's fantastic. I had a situation in 6th grade where my teacher, Mr. Frost, brought me to the front of the room and leaned over me and yelled at me that I wasn't working hard enough and I was never going to graduate high school and never amount to anything. And sometimes those moments where somebody is being the detractor actually drive you and push you, right?
Yes, exactly. Because at the end, when I did my dissertation, I they the professor said, "We know you're going to finish." They realized that not only that I had the determination, but I also had the knowledge and the desire. So
I love it. That's amazing. And so now you've transitioned from being in chemistry into working with the mind. Very
right.
briefly, tell us about that.
Well, we would say everything is chemistry, right? So, but I think that the mind is very, very powerful. We just don't realize it. As you mentioned, the subconscious mind is like 99% of our brain.
Mhm.
And how aware are we of that? And the power within that mind is amazing because it runs our whole body, it follows our conscious mind. It's just uh, limitless.
Yeah,
So I think it is something that humanity need to plug in.
absolutely. So here we are. We're promoting today our new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Of course, Marta is one of our co-authors there. Marta, if people want to work with you, how do they connect with you? How can they follow you?
Okay. Well, I have an email address, which is Marta at Bloom by Hypnotherapy.
Marta
And
at bloombyhypnotherapy.com.
because I help people to bloom. That's why that title.
I love that. I love that. That's what most people need to do in their life, right? There's so many people who they think that they think that they've sort of hit the peak of their life or the pinnacle of their life, but they really still have to bloom.
Yes, thank you.
I love it. What inspired you to, in about 30 seconds, what inspired you to get into this line of work from chemistry?
Well, it was by accident because I got an email from you and it said that, you're going to teach us how to do a really nice video presentation.
Mhm.
that was the only 1 hour. And after that, you explained NLP, and it was like, wow.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Marta. It's been a pleasure having you, and looking forward to hitting that #1 bestseller. Yay. And now we have our next author, which is Missy Thompson. And Missy is our 3rd author of today. Missy is a transformational empowerment practitioner and the founder of Phoenix Shift LLC. She's a board-certified master success coach, master NLP practitioner, and master clinical hypnotherapist who guides individuals through profound breakthroughs to heal trauma, rewire limiting beliefs, and more. Having personally overcome childhood trauma and caregiving through terminal illness and narcissistic abuse, Missy brings deep authenticity and resilience to her work. Through Phoenix Shift, she is dedicated to helping others break free from emotional barriers and reach their full potential. Missy's chapter chronicles her journey from childhood, shaped by conditional love, not unconditional, but conditional love, narcissistic control, and survival mode, to breaking generational cycles through motherhood and personal growth. She describes the heavy toll of always being the strong one and how true healing began when she allowed herself to accept support and unconditional love from her husband. Discovering NLP and finding a supportive community helped Missy move beyond survival, reclaim her sense of self, and ignite her purpose to help others heal. Her story is a testament to the power of rising from adversity, embracing community, and choosing transformation over merely surviving. Welcome, Missy.
Thank you.
Tell us what
be here.
Yeah, I know it's finally here. Tell us what inspired you to write this chapter in this book.
So it had been suggested to me by many people that I should actually share my story. It was something that prior to NLP, I held very, very close to my chest. And so there was a transition in my own mindset in realizing that this story is actually not something that holds me back or something to be ashamed of, but that it was actually very, very empowering. And I'm not alone in living through these types of situations. And my desire to help others to break free from those situations if they've lived in them, or to prevent them from ever happening, really, really put me on this trajectory.
I love that. Your chapter describes how survival patterns from childhood can persist into adulthood and impact relationships. What was the turning point that helped you realize that, that helped you recognize these patterns and then begin to break those patterns?
That's a really good question. Thanks for asking that. So honestly, I did not realize and did not attach any type of terms to my childhood. So I never looked back at my childhood and considered it abusive, or that it was what it was, right? It was good when it was good, and when it was bad, it was really bad. It was my husband and my husband's dad, my father-in-law, was actually my high school psychology teacher. And he had his own counseling practice. And I was in my later 40s, and I had went to Dad for counseling. And this was the last time that I went into traditional therapy. And one of the things that I discussed with him was that traditional therapy models were not working for me. And I was honestly at that point considering going back to college for my 3rd degree, and this time in psychology. And I had a conversation with him, and I said, Dad, I'm really thinking about doing this. However, about 10 years ago, I found this thing called NLP. And he looked at me and he said, Missy, he said, pursue NLP. He said, that is positive psychology. And that opened a world that I did not know could exist for me. NLP, and actually sitting in your classes in the home study, Michael, I started that journey for my own personal healing, just so that I could break these binds and change things, flip the script, do better for my children, for my husband, for myself, and for the world. And it changed my life. The best thing I ever did.
That's amazing. And, I love how, sometimes the thing that can seem to be the most destructive in our lives is the thing that kind of shapes our path and where we end up going.
Definitely,
Right?
definitely. And
Very,
you know,
very similar story for myself as well.
yes,
You know?
yes, we have a very similar upbringing. And so you ask yourself, like, why me? And the thing is, it's like once I learned the skill set that we now possess, it was like, I know exactly why me, because without me going through these things, where would I be and how would I lead others? So
Absolutely.
I'm grateful and thankful that it was me, right?
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So, I have a very similar background, raised by a mother with borderline personality disorder. And one of the things that I learned as a child was that accepting favors from my mother in particular was dangerous, right? Because the favors always came with strings, lots and lots of strings, even accepting a gift, And so, I know what that's like, having that fear of being able to accept things from others. So you share in your chapter how accepting help and experiencing unconditional love from your husband became a catalyst for your healing. So number one, how did you learn to accept that? And then number two, how did this, shift in receiving support change your understanding of strength and vulnerability?
So honestly, I was resistant when he first brought that to my attention and said, Missy, there are terms for some of the things that you live through. And I didn't want to hear that. I had to sit with it for a while. And then I realized that he was not wrong. And, the knowledge, being that Brian is the one person that he and I've known each other since childhood, go back to like 14 years old. So there was a level of trust and consistency with him. He was the same as he was when we were children. And so I knew that there was nothing that he would say that was meant in any way to hurt me. If he said it, I needed to pay attention. And, all of that came about. He said these things, but at that point, I wasn't ready to focus on me because in 2019, we lost my former spouse to reoccurring colon cancer that metastasized. And he and I were divorced, but I had moved him home because obviously we're still family. We had 3 boys together. And literally every 6 months after Scott passed away, I lost another family member. We lost well over a dozen in less than 5 years. And so that is really what the catalyst was to start the journey for my own healing and really digging in and looking to find out what is going to actually help me. And I was very blessed. I will say this. Growing up, my dad was a Marine and my parents were extremely intelligent, I can see now that they were people, right? They were humans. They had their own upbringings. They had their own things. But I wasn't able to see that immediately. And then when my father-in-law said, don't go back to college again, go into this new trajectory. And honestly, sitting down, the very first couple of classes that you taught, when you taught the presuppositions, when you taught the communication model, but specifically cause and effect, that flipped my script and changed my world. And to this day, I live my life intentionally at cause for everything I do.
Such a powerful lesson. I love it. One of the things you talk about in your journey, you move from learning in isolation to seeking out supportive community. What advice would you give to somebody who feels alone in their healing process and they want to find their own tribe?
So number one, you're never alone. That's a choice. And I've learned that being alone is an absolute choice. And another thing that I learned is that aloneness, that choice that we made was because I was staying within my box of comfort. So my advice to anyone is if you start feeling that seems uncomfortable, push through it and ask, because the only answer that you can get that would be derogatory would be no. And that's not even a bad answer, right? That person that may say no may not be the right one for you. So persistence is key. Keep asking. There are so many of us out there that want to help, that will reach out a hand, that will give you the hug, that will help you along. And honestly, this is a shameless plug, but I'm going to plug it anyway. Transform Destiny 100%, right? It literally changed my life. And I have a tribe of human beings that are so like-minded, loving, and trustworthy that I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. And then the other place for me was my church community. You know, that really, that I have the access to everybody that I have become tribe members with in Transform Destiny. We support each other all day, every day. Even those of us who haven't met in person, right? There's just a community and a connection that is bar none. I've never experienced anything like it. And I'm so, so blessed that I'm here.
I love it. So you talk about in the book, you know, how discovering NLP and finding your community became essential to your transformation. And now, of course, you're on your journey to opening your own training company and building that community yourself as well. So talk a little bit about that.
So I became a trainer in April. An amazing experience. Really, really, really transforms you. I am so different than I was March 31st. And so it's so exciting. I'm getting ready to host my first in-person class live June 27th. And that'll be a 3-day introductory course to get this information out into the hands of others so that these communities can be built locally, not just, you know, nationwide, which is what I personally have. And it grows. So just being able to meet one person starts the process. And that's what I'm looking to bring to, you know, to my local area, and to really help others step outside of their comfort zone and to realize that there is help and there is hope. And then the other thing with that is to remind people to give themselves some grace, right? That's so important.
What would you say is the key to somebody who's grown up with, you know, a challenging childhood, and when they look back, all they see is, this is the reason why I messed up? What is the key to turning that past from something that was traumatic and terrible into something that's powerful and empowering?
So I'd say there's 2 keys, really. One being mindset, flipping the script, the way that you talk to yourself. That is so huge. And then the second thing is, how can I be at cause for this? Right. And that is such a hard concept when you don't understand, yet once it integrates, it's really easy. So, and when I say being a cause for this, you know, not did I do something that caused them to behave this way? I mean, I'm sure there were times that I did, right? But how can I be at cause? It happened. It's in the past. There's no sense in really looking in that rear view mirror other than to figure out how we can take that next step towards excellence and not repeat those past circumstances. And also to remember that life you choose it to be. So you can make the choice to make it different. And that does fall back into mindset.
And you are a living testament to that, for sure. So we are here today, of course, promoting our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Missy is a co-author in the book. And if you get the book today or tomorrow, May 18th by 11:59 p.m. Pacific, then we're going to give you $1,000 in free gifts from all of the authors as thanks for helping us during the launch to push this to bestseller. So Missy, how can people contact you if they want to work with you, if they want to train with you, or even just follow you?
So the website to get to me is www.thestrengthofme.us. I can be reached by phone at 443-350-8796. Or you can catch me on social media, Facebook, you'll find me under Misty Thompson, or you can look up Phoenix Shift. And on Instagram, you'll find me under Missy Empowerment Practitioner.
I love it. And we've got about 1 minute left. So describe who is it that you like to work with? Who is it that you can help and how you can help them?
So I really like to work with anyone who is feeling stuck. If you know that there's more out there for you, if you desire better, you want to reshape your life, I'm your girl.
I love it. And of course, very NLP based and hypnosis and everything else, all of the wonderful stuff that we talk about. Here's the book, The Courage to Win. You can get the book at www.getcourage.net. www.getcourage.net. And we will give you $1,000 in free gifts just for helping us out during the launch. Let's get this book to number 1. I personally think it's about time that a positive book actually gets to be number 1 book. So thank you so much, Missy. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Let's
you.
keep on pushing up those rankings. All right. Next, we have our next author, Mary Bennett. Mary is our 4th author of today, and she is a master resilience coach with over 25 years of coaching experience dedicated to helping others flourish. Inspired by her daughter's battle with type 1 diabetes, she transitioned into emergency management and contributed to disaster recovery after Hurricane Sandy. As a TBI survivor, lupus warrior, and domestic violence survivor, Mary's personal challenges fueled her passion for empowering others. Through her diverse certifications, she guides clients to unlock their potential and reshapes their futures. In Mari's chapter, A Journey Beyond the Uniform, Jacob, a returning soldier, struggles to adjust to civilian life and reconnect with his community. Feeling lost and isolated, he gradually finds belonging through small steps, supportive friendships, and participating in local events. As Jacob shares his experience and embraces both his past and present, he discovers the power of vulnerability, connection, and transformation. The chapter encourages readers to face change and courage and to find strength in community and personal growth. Mary, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So tell us what inspired you to write this chapter in this book.
Through my journey of being trained by the military and veterans, I've had the opportunity to also date a Marine. I noticed, and also through the journey of having friends and coaching military and veterans, that military and veterans they don't have the opportunity to get coached as much as civilians do. They have the opportunity to have a lot of therapy, but they aren't shared tools and techniques that can enable them to embrace monumental change and to go home at the end of the day, go ahead and shuffle off all that potential trauma and drama that they had to experience to be able to show up to be their best selves. So I decided to share a metaphor that would hopefully resonate with anyone and everyone that read it, whether they're military or not military, or veterans or not veterans, to be able to see that our mindset and the words that we choose to come out of our mouth can shift and change everything.
It's, I think I've had several very close friends of mine who've been deployed, and I don't think most people are familiar with this term reintegration, that when somebody spends a significant amount of time over there deployed, they forget certain things about society. Like, you don't drive down the middle of the street on the line, because over there you're trying to avoid IUDs and getting blown up. Here in the States, you go in between the lines, and literally people forget these kinds of things, and they literally have to go through reintegration training to come back to civilian life. Your chapter really addresses this. And so what inspired you to focus on this theme of reintegration? And, what do you hope readers in similar situations will take away from Jacob's story?
I coach people who are basically transitioning from the military to civilian life and veterans, to help them navigate PTS, to be able to look at life from a different perspective. And what I'm hoping that they will gain by reading this is that anything and everything is possible, and our mindset is everything. So for Jacob to have the opportunity to go home and to feel lost and disconnected, and to see that everyone had either moved on, passed away, grown up, that houses changed colors, and to feel disconnected, I'm hoping that the readers will actually be able to see that through him giving himself grace, and through one of his friends reaching out that was also a veteran, to invite him to go to a potluck, that they will see that by him stepping out of his comfort zone, and going to the potluck and listening to other people's challenges as well. It's not just the military that goes through trauma. All of us have to go through some type of trauma. It's not the trauma that defines us, it's how we choose to go ahead and move past it. So he made that choice. He showed up, he was authentic, he listened, and through the grace of other people showing up and being authentic to him as well, he was able to breathe, go ahead and take everything in and give himself once again forgiveness, grace, and be able to be there for everyone else, and actually finally share a part of his story that enabled other people to see him for who he truly is, and to be able to, so he could truly show up for himself as a civilian as well.
I love that. And, you know, one of the things that you talk about in the book is how connection and vulnerability play crucial roles in healing. And, you know, this idea of vulnerability is something that's kind of incompatible with the military way, right? So what kind of advice can you give to people who feel isolated and out of place, and, you know, need to build those meaningful connections and learn that vulnerability is actually strength?
Start with gratefulness. You know, and I know vulnerability, like you said, is not a word that resonates truly with the military. However, when we start our day, if we can at least think about 3 things that we're grateful for, that is a great way to start shifting the mindset. You know, even if it's the fact that you woke up, that you have a bed to lay on, or that one person that you talk to that you can be grateful about. Gratefulness, you know, being grateful for the fact that you were able to serve, and, you know, that you're alive today, you know, is, you know, those little shifts that enable us to go ahead and take that mindset and put it into a place that will be more beneficial to us. So I'd say personal grace, gratefulness, you know, and trying to do your best to just show up for yourself. Look in the mirror and say, I love you. I love me. And self-love is huge. There's not enough people out there that truly authentically understand the meaning of that. It took for me to go through multiple traumas and to be that yes person and the person who enabled other people to treat me and put me down, to realize that I needed to love myself. And then when I started loving me, it made it, and it was easier to focus on gratefulness and to feel that internal shift that I'm worthy and that they are worthy too. And that we've got this. And that's why we're here as coaches, is to be able to enable people to see themselves through different eyes, because we're harder on ourselves than anybody and everybody else is. So transformation, feeling the ability and want to, and the desire for just embracing change is, you know, will help catapult.
Yeah. Now I'm going to ask, it's a hard question, but it's the question that some people are going to be having if they're at the rock bottom, right? Hey, it's easy for you to say, be grateful for 3 things in your life because you have a great life. What about me? Right? When somebody is at that point where they don't feel like they have anything to be grateful for, what's the advice that you give them to find gratitude?
That's an excellent question. I'd say take a deep breath, box breathe. You know, when I say that, you know, breathing is huge. So to internalize, by take a deep breath, hold it for about 3 seconds. Then to go ahead and exhale, inhale for about 3 seconds. And by literally clearing the mind and I'd step it up to 5 seconds sometimes, enables one to actually feel an internal shift, because rock bottom is scary. And it took a long time for me to get from where I was at to where I'm at today. If someone had told me 3 years ago that I would be co-authoring in a book, I would have been in shock and told them that they were crazy. So to be able to be here today, it was a huge, you know, a testimony of what and how NLP, you know, completely shifted my life. Because I remember at one point where I was living out of my car, and I was listening to Michael with one of the videos, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I get it. I've been living in effect this whole time. And all of a sudden it was like the light bulb went on my head, where it was just like, I personally knew that I needed to stop those voices in my head, making me feel like I was not worthy. So for anyone who's at rock bottom, I would suggest just trying to say out loud, even if you have a hard time believing it, saying, I've got this, I'm worthy, and trying to get rid of all those negative voices in your head and just think of that one thing that you want more than anything and focus on that outcome. Focus on the outcome that you want, not the outcome you don't want.
That's powerful. So speaking of contribution, right, you contributing a chapter to the book, one of the things you talk about is the power of, volunteering and contributing your own experiences. And in your story, Jacob actually does that, where he shares in planning community events. How can sharing personal skills and personal stories help someone rebuild confidence and foster belonging after a period of upheaval?
Well, I believe it helps people see that we're just like everybody else. That just because I'm on this camera and that I co-authored in a book doesn't mean that I'm any different or any more special than the person reading it. I just had opportunities that I embraced that catapulted me to where I'm at now. Whereas when I was living in effect, and when I say effect, it was basically being that yes person, telling everybody I can do this and spreading myself so thin that I didn't have time for me. So for anyone who's reading this, what I would recommend, and not recommend, I would say that by sharing our own stories, because in the beginning, I wouldn't tell anyone that I had lupus or that I was a TBI survivor. I didn't want people feeling sorry for me. And then when I realized that by me sharing myself and my story, people all of a sudden felt empowered. They felt excited, and they didn't feel that I was untouchable in the sense where I was, so high up in the sky that they couldn't talk to me like I was just a normal person like me and you. So being able to share my story not only empowered me, once I heard that it was empowering other people, it got me to the point where I wasn't afraid of speaking my voice anymore and sharing that, yes, I'm a TBI survivor. I had to learn how to walk and talk again. And I was in a domestic violence situation. But all of those situations, when I look back reflectively, helped me grow. And I can look at it now and be stronger because of it. Instead of feeling stuck, I feel empowered. And so I want to share that with others to empower them as well, because just because we're living in a state or a moment where we feel that there's no possibility or there's no future, there always is. There's always tomorrow. So again, on what we want and not what we don't will enable us to embrace monumental change.
I love it. So we are here today for the book launch of The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Mary, of course, is one of our co-authors, wrote a very, very powerful chapter on reintegrating from, and in her chapter, it's about military, but we can all reintegrate from things that happen in our lives, right? Anything that happened in our life. So Mary, if people want to follow you, if they want to work with you, tell us a little bit about who do you like to work with, who do you help, and how can people get in touch with you?
I love to help veterans. I love to help people that are transitioning from the military into civilian life. And honestly, anyone who wants to embrace monumental change. And how to get a hold of me would be, my phone number is 888-424-1850. Again, that's 1-888-424-1850. My website is Mary, M-A-R-I, Bennett, BENNETT, USA.com. Again, that's MaryBennettUSA.com. And my email address is Mary with an I, Bennett, USA @gmail.com.
I love it. And, I think, so often when people come back from being deployed. All we want to do is just smother them and help them. And, it's not just the veterans who need help, right? It's the people at home who need help to cope with that and understand and know how to deal with that. And so I really encourage you, if you are someone who loves a veteran, don't just reach out for help for them, reach out for help for yourself as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mary. It's been a pleasure. We will keep on moving up the leaderboards. And next we have our next author, which is Nellie Williams. And Nellie, who, by the way, is our personal tax preparer as well. Nellie is an income tax practitioner and former IRS tax auditor who has successfully run her own business for over 40 years. She holds certifications as a master practitioner in NLP, time techniques, life and success coaching, hypnotherapy, and EFT. She's also a best-selling author and contributor to multiple books. Having quit smoking over 50 years ago, congratulations, she now helps others find the courage to become non-smokers too. In this chapter, Nellie shares her personal journey of starting and ultimately quitting smoking, highlighting the cultural and social pressures that made it difficult to stop. She outlines the health, social, and financial consequences of smoking, as well as the benefits of quitting, including improved health, better relationships, and significant cost savings. Nellie explains that the challenges of breaking the habit and offers encouragement and practical strategies for becoming a non-smoker. Her message is clear. Quitting smoking is a courageous act of self-care that leads to better, healthier life. Welcome, Nellie.
Thank you, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Happy to have you here. So tell us what inspired you to write this chapter in this book.
The title encouraged me. Courage, rise above. Courage to win whatever struggle you have. And the biggest win I had was, I've had a lot of wins, but I thought, what can I relate to folks? And that would be quitting smoking, because peer pressure is so powerful. It's easy to succumb. And I was a young girl wanting to be grown up. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to be grown up. But now I had a way to act grown up. I had to hide it from my parents. I was stealing cigarettes and, what kind of future does that give you? Here I am, a thief, I'm a little girl, 15 years old, not even half grown up, and I'm compromising my health. And it was in my 20s that I really understood, oh my gosh, I don't want to get cancer of the throat or of the face. I don't want to be disfigured by this. That was a big away motivation, but more toward motivation was conquering this bad habit and being healthy. And I'm so happy that I did that.
I love it. Me too. It's been 27 years for me, so I'm about half of yours, but I love it. And in your chapter, you mentioned that quitting smoking is not just about avoiding disease, but about really, living life fully. So share about how, your life changed after you became a non-smoker, both physically and emotionally.
I was able to breathe better. And because when I was smoking, what really caught my attention was I would take a breath and I'd have to stop because it was pressure in my chest. And I thought, this is not good. And I love to sing. And I am what I call a belly breather. I breathe deep, getting my lungs full of air now so that I can sing a sustained note and long phrases of verse. So that was great. I had to change my people I hung out with. I was no longer in the smoking crowd. I was in the better health crowd. But by this time I was an adult and I thought, I was looking for a new social companion. And who wants to kiss an ashtray? When you smoke, you don't know how bad you smell, how bad you taste, how your clothes reek, your breath is bad, your skin is bad, your house smells, everything. So it was a big move forward, and I'm really thankful that I did that. You're muted.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was a smoker, I would often encounter women who would say I would never date a smoker, and I didn't understand it. Then when I became a non-smoker, it was non-negotiable. I could not date somebody who was a smoker. I totally understood it.
Exactly.
So you discussed the power of habits and rituals associated with smoking that make it so hard to quit. What were some of those habits for you, and what are some practical strategies and mindset shifts that helped you break those patterns?
As a smoker, it was easy for me to hold the cigarette in my fingers, bring it up to my face, take that first long drag. The first drag is the satisfying one. The rest of it, you're just getting rid of the cigarette itself. But I realized, these are all behavioral habits. And I need to stop. I need to make a new behavior. So at the time, I was a dispatcher for the Phoenix Police Department, and we were doing a lot of writing. And so I always had a pen in my fingers. And for a while we could smoke there at the console, I thought that was really rude for the other dispatchers who didn't smoke. But I could bring the pen up to my mouth, breathe in deep as if I were taking a drag, blow it out slowly, and pretend. It was the behavior I had to, and finally I could drop the pencil or pen or whatever was in my fingers. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, that's it's these habits have triggers, right? And I think it's one of the important things is finding out what the triggers are. For me, one of my triggers was that anytime I was in trouble, anytime I was having an argument with my girlfriend, anytime I was stressed out, the cigarette was an excuse for me to go take 10 minutes away, right? I'm going to go have a smoke. Nobody can argue with you when you say that, and so that would be my escape out of that situation. And for 10 minutes, at least, I would be stress-free, And so how do you suggest that people identify what those triggers are so that when they come and work with you, you know what to work on?
Think about what you do when you think you need or want a cigarette. What do you do first? Is it unwrap the pack? Is it tap the pack on some hard surface to get all the tobacco down to the, inside the paper tube? Is it actually bringing the cigarette up to your face? Is it lighting it? Do you hold it in your fingers? Do you hold it between your lips? That is so not attractive, especially not for women. You can be the tough guy where you're, just holding the cigarette. You're not the Marlboro man, the handsome, rugged, person who's got everything covered. You're more like James Dean, the tough guy. And while that might not be relevant to younger folks today, if you look online, you can find out who these people are I'm talking about. Tough guys. You don't want to be a tough guy. You want to be a macho man. You want to be healthy, strong, attractive. You want to have good hygiene. You want to be nice to be around. So what motivates you to want to light a cigarette? Or are you vaping or smoking an e-cigarette? Those are even more damaging than tobacco.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. They've been told a lie that it's just water vapor, and it's not. It's glycerin, which is and who knows what else, because a lot of it comes from China. It's funny because my experience as a smoker, I smoked for 14 years, and practically everyone I knew who smoked was always kind of broke, right? And when I started smoking, cigarettes were 85 cents a pack. When I quit, they were $3.85 a pack. And now, of course, cigarettes are between $8 and $15 a pack, depending on what state you're in. So talk about the financial benefits of quitting smoking, as well as like the social benefits.
If you can stop paying money for this bad habit, you have that much more money in your bank account, in your pocket, to make different choices. And if you are so empowered, you could save that money for a big purchase later on. Most of us, when we're smoking, it's something we have to have. So we don't even think about what other choices we're keeping ourselves from making. We buy the cigarettes because we want to have the smoke, or we want to have the e-cigarette. But when you have money in your bank account, you've got other choices. You can buy personal investment, take a course, do a training, buy a new outfit, take somebody to dinner, have fun. So it's a lot better.
I love it. I love to ask people who smoke, when you quit smoking, if you were to just take that money, that money's already gone every day. So when you quit smoking, pretend like you still don't make that money and put it in a savings account that you ignore. And then at the end of the year, whatever is in that savings account, that's yours. You get to do whatever you want with it. And so I'll ask people, when they're ready to quit smoking, I'll say, at the end of the year, I worked with one guy who was, he was an elderly gentleman. And when I asked him at the end of the year, how much will you have saved? And he said, $2,500. And I said, great. What are you going to do with that $2,500 at the end of the year? And he thought about it for a second. He said, that's right about the time that's going to be my 50th wedding anniversary. And he started tearing up. And he said, I always promised my wife a honeymoon and I never took her on one. I choked up just talking about it. And then he started crying. And he said, at the end of that, I'm taking my wife to Italy with that money because that's what I promised her I would do 50 years ago. So that leverage is so powerful, right? I feel like so often smokers only think in the moment. We have to sometimes think longer term. And that financial impact is huge, as well as the social impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a stigma for sure that comes along with being a cigarette smoker. So in your experience, you advise understanding and managing like how your cigarettes impact other people as well, right?
Yes.
It's not just people say it's a personal choice, but it's not just a personal choice, right? And so how does that affect, how you work with people?
I want people to know that when they make a choice to stop smoking, they're making a choice to be healthier, to show a better example for younger people. You could be their children, could be nieces, nephews, could be just children in the neighborhood, in your workplace. You smell better. You don't have this offensive odor that keeps people away. It's just so much better to be around. As a non-smoker, I didn't know until I quit smoking how offensive it is to be a smoker. I thought people are just, you don't understand. What are you talking about? I smell bad. It's like a fish in water does not know he's wet. So you don't know until you stop. And then
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The world is your oyster.
Yeah, I know a big wake up call for me. My son was 4 years old. His half sister was 2, and I was 24 years old, and I couldn't run around the park and chase my kids like I wanted to. I was constantly out of breath, And so, while on the one hand you might focus on I'm out of breath, the other question is, how is that affecting your kids? How is it affecting your spouse, your parents? My grandmother was on her deathbed, dying of lung disease. And made me promise her that I would quit smoking, and I didn't know how, and that's where talk about, the power of hypnotherapy when it comes. Why does hypnotherapy work so well for things like this?
The subconscious mind is so powerful, and it wins 95% of the time over willpower. We can be as strong as we want to be consciously, but we got stuff running in the background that's going to overpower that conscious will. So if we can get the subconscious to buy into, it's good to be a non-smoker, it's good, or whatever you want to overcome, you're helping to win the battle. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We are here promoting, of course, our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Nellie is a co-author in the book. So Nellie, if people want to work with you, we know you like to help people quit smoking. Who else do you like to help, and how can people get in touch with you?
I like to help people who want to be straight with the government and want to work with me to beat, not cheat the IRS, or outside of tax season, people who have a challenge they'd love to overcome and would like to have a little boost in how to do that.
I love it. And what's the best way for people to follow you, get in touch with you, work with you?
I would love to invite people to email Nellie at ntwilliams.com. And when you do so, put the word courage in the subject line so that I know it's about the book. And it will be easy for me to find your email in my full inbox. So
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Nellie. It's been a pleasure.
thank you, Michael.
All right. And next, we have our next author, David McCormick. David wrote chapter 3. And David is a seasoned physician assistant with over 25 years of experience in emergency and urgent care medicine. He's also a master clinical hypnotherapist and master NLP practitioner, specializing in helping individuals overcome limiting beliefs and achieve personal growth. David combines his clinical expertise with advanced coaching and NLP techniques to empower clients for lasting change. In addition to his work in healthcare and coaching, he brings humor to his practice as a stand-up comedian. I love that. In this chapter, David explores the powerful NLP principle called "the map is not the territory," illustrating how our perceptions and beliefs shape our reality. He shares his personal journey from self-doubt and limiting beliefs in his youth to finding confidence, success, and fulfillment through challenging those beliefs and reframing his perspective. David describes how transformative experiences like cross-country motorcycle trip helped him realize his true potential and led to a rewarding career in medicine and personal development. The chapter encourages readers to recognize and overcome their own limiting beliefs, emphasizing that with the right mindset, radical change and growth are possible for anyone. David, welcome.
Michael, pleasure.
It's
Excited to be here. No cover charge today, so that's good.
I love it. So let me know, what is it that inspired you to write this chapter in this book?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned previously, you'll find in my chapter, my childhood and into my 20s were kind of plagued with self-limiting beliefs. And then at age 30, took a transformative journey on a motorcycle, cross-country. Came back and my self-perception really changed. And then, just through the years, thought my story should be told. This became the perfect platform for it. And as it is, I just, if I can help in my chapter, or frankly, anybody's chapter in this book, just one person becomes inspired, motivated, or can relate to it, I think we've all done it justice.
I love it. As a fellow rider, I'd like for you to explain to normal people who don't ride motorcycles what that feeling of freedom is like. It's something that most people never experience.
Sure. It is definitely a sense of freedom. Just prior to going on this trip, I didn't even know how to turn a motorcycle on. But something clicked in my head and said, this is something I really want to do. And it was truly amazing. I can recall like it was yesterday, driving through the plains of South Dakota with my helmet on my head, and the song Mandy by Barry Manilow got in my head, and it took me about 2 hours to get out of my head, screaming inside my helmet. Now, if that's not freedom, Michael, I'm not sure what is.
I love it. Yeah. Anytime I'm stressed out, I think in a lot of ways the motorcycle kind of replaced my stress relief that I used to get from cigarettes. Right. It's my escape. It's amazing. So you describe in your chapter this pivotal cross-country motorcycle trip as a turning point that shattered your limiting beliefs. What was it about that experience that created such a profound shift in your self-perception and your confidence?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I had never, ridden a motorcycle prior, didn't have a motorcycle license, but just doing one step after another, deciding I'm going to do this. Who gets on a motorcycle and rides cross country who's never even ridden a motorcycle before, but saved up for about a year to buy the motorcycle, got the license, learn how to ride it. And just going cross country, it just seemed like that was not anything that I could ever obtain. After the trip was over, it's like, if I can ride cross country on a motorcycle, I can do anything. Truly, from that moment on, Every time I started with a self-limiting belief, I would say, well, I rode cross country on a motorcycle. I can do that. I can do that. Yeah.
There's a lot of power in the whole idea of, if I can do that, I can do anything. And I think, unfortunately, so many people don't seek out things that make them say that. You know, what is, I mean, you know, for a lot of people, it's like some sort of a tragedy. You know, Neil Peart, the drummer from Rush, had a similar experience to you, but his wife and his daughter both died within 6 months of each other. And then he took a trip from the top of Canada all the way down to South America and back again, right? And that was a transformational journey for him. And when he came back, he was ready to go back to being the drummer for Rush and things like that, right? So a lot of times it's a personal tragedy that tends to push us outside of our comfort zone. But what would you say to people who don't have personal tragedies? Maybe they're just, you know, not satisfied with life.
Sure.
How do they find things like this to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a, you know, I mean, it's great to have a coach. I didn't really, at the time, know much about NLP. I kind of dabbled in it, but I think subconsciously, all of this led me to the field of neurolinguistics programming because, you know, prior I was wrought with self-limiting beliefs. And, you know, I mean, I kind of muscled my way through it, subconsciously or otherwise. But to have someone that can help you, coach you through things, the shortcuts are, as you know, incredible when you have someone that can kind of direct you or work with you to direct yourself through things. So it's just a matter of kind of getting on board with the right coach. And we all have everything we need within us. It's just a matter of being guided in the right direction.
Yeah, I love it. So in your chapter, you know, you mentioned NLP a few times now. So in your chapter, you talk about an NLP principle called the map is not the territory. Can you share how this principle first impacted your own life and why it's so important for anyone who's seeking personal growth?
Sure. I mean, the map is not the territory within NLP is more of a way of kind of relating with other folks, how to build rapport. You know, for instance, a coach can build rapport if they kind of realize that the, you know, looking at a person may not be what they're actually, you know, what they're saying is not what they're actually going through. Well, I kind of took that as I was building rapport with myself prior to this journey that I took on the motorcycle. I was, again, wrought with self-limiting beliefs. I didn't think I was a good student. I didn't think I was good at a lot of things. So I had to build rapport with myself. And, you know, the presupposition that we talk about with the map is not the territory is generally how one person can kind of build rapport with another person, which is important when you're coaching. But I kind of took it upon myself that I needed to build rapport with myself. So that's how I kind of get started with that.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Milton Erickson, you know, one of the greatest psychiatrists on earth, said that people have problems because they're out of rapport with their own subconscious minds. And yeah, I find that, you know, most people are not only out of rapport with their own subconscious minds, but also completely ignoring their subconscious mind. You know, and so in your work, one of the things that you talk about with people is, you know, gaining that rapport. What is it about that? Like, you know, what is the power of having rapport with your own subconscious mind?
Sure. I mean, if you can, if you're not fighting your subconscious mind and you're kind of allowing your subconscious mind going to work for you, the sky is the limit, quite frankly. But our problem is, myself included, especially in my earlier years, we kind of set up roadblocks. We can set up limiting beliefs with ourselves, and we don't have that free flow of the subconscious mind kind of directing us in areas that we want to work on. So kind of getting rid of those roadblocks within our own mind is important to set up rapport with yourself. And if you're working, like myself, working with other folks, trying to break through those roadblocks of building a rapport with another person and get them to guide them in a certain direction. The quicker you can build rapport with another person, the quicker you can kind of guide them towards their direction, the way they're looking to go.
I love it. Your journey involved repeatedly reframing setbacks and challenges as lessons rather than failures. So can you walk us through how someone can practically reframe a current challenge in their life? If somebody has a situation in their life that they feel like is a loss or a setback, how do they turn that into a lesson?
Sure. I mean, the first thing is I learned the hard way. You need to be more gentle with yourself. And what we like to say in the world of NLP is there are no failures. There's only feedback. And when you kind of come to that realization that you're not failing, you just did something differently than you wanted to, and you're gonna and you just stick with it and reframe and head yourself in another direction. There's failure. You can really do a number on yourself, beat yourself down when you consider yourself failing. But if you look at it as not failure, it's just feedback. It's how to do something differently, how to work on the same problem, differently. I mean, that corny example of Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times learning how to make the light bulb. He learned that it needed to be done differently. So as long as you just keep in mind that there's no such thing as failure, there's only feedback, you're gonna do okay.
That's a really powerful principle. And in order for something to be feedback, that means you can't quit after the first try.
You can't. Right. Exactly. There's no quitting.
Right.
Moving down the road.
There has to be a second attempt, a third attempt. And, I love that story of Thomas Edison. The actual number was 700 times. It's been exaggerated over the years to 10,000. But, he said, I didn't fail 700 times to make a light bulb. I found 700 ways to successfully not make a light bulb. Right. That's such a powerful reframe and shift. Talk about what is the power of focus of the mind, because the only difference between feedback and failure is focus. Right. It's what you're focusing on.
Right.
Talk about the power of focus when it comes to getting results.
Well, if you simply focus on what you want, don't focus on what you don't want, right? There's 1,000 things that you don't want, but there's only one thing that you really do want. So if you spend your time focusing on what you do want and don't spend your time focusing on the hundreds or thousands of things that you don't want, really makes life a lot simpler for you.
I love it. So powerful. And so what would you say to somebody who, they're like, well, I'm not going to buy a motorcycle. That's crazy. That's scary. That's ridiculous. What's a good substitute for a motorcycle ride?
Well, Michael, the thing is, my story is unique to me, but limiting beliefs are not a unique concept. So, you can take my motorcycle story, my metaphor, and run with that, but you certainly don't need to own a motorcycle. It's whatever you, take whatever your story is and just kind of keep working on things, work with a coach, work on those shortcuts, and we'll get you there.
Yeah. With that being said, everybody should own a motorcycle. So we're here promoting the book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. David is a co-author of the book. And so get the book at getcourage.net today or tomorrow. We'll give you $1,000 in gifts for helping us out. So David, share with us, if somebody wants to work with you, who do you like to work with? How do you help them? And what's the best way for people to follow you or contact you?
Sure. I'm ready to work with anybody that wants to push through their limiting beliefs. I have a special affinity for folks that are working on home-based businesses that are kind of pushed through those limiting beliefs, perhaps thinking they're not getting anywhere. This home-based business is not working for me. It will if you just push through those limiting beliefs. And my site isn't quite up running yet, but what you can do is reach out to me at my email, which is davidjmccormick77@gmail.com, or certainly reach out to me on Facebook. I'd be glad to talk with you.
Great. Share that email address one more time.
David J. McCormick 77 at gmail.com.
All right. And so again, we're here today promoting our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Now, we're trying to push this to be a #1 bestseller. I think a positive book. It's about time that one got to be #1 bestseller. So get it at www.getcourage.net. There's a simple 3-step formula to follow there to help us, as well as to get the $1,000 in free gifts. So thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Awesome. And next, we have our next author, Georgia Coleman. Georgia wrote chapter 19, and Georgia is the founder of Mindset Mastery and a mindset and manifestation coach with over 5 years of experience. She helps hardworking women and single parents overcome limiting beliefs to design the lives they want. Georgia holds advanced degrees and certifications in education, coaching, and neurolinguistic programming. As the creator of the Royal Method, she empowers her clients to transform their beliefs and take intentional action towards success. In this chapter, Georgia shares how the pain of losing her grandmother became the catalyst for taking back control of her life. Struggling with grief, financial worries, and the pressures of her job, she realized that she had been living according to others' expectations instead of her own desires. By choosing to honor her grandmother in Ghana, Georgia discovered her inner strength and began a journey of personal growth, ultimately transforming her pain to purpose. She encourages readers to reclaim their power, trust their wisdom, and make small, courageous choices to create a fulfilling life. Welcome, Georgia.
Thank you. Hi, Michael.
It's great to see you.
You too.
So tell us what inspired you to write this chapter in this book.
I've been told that I need to share my story, and I've always thought, well, where did it start? Where did it start? Where did it start? You know, asking myself those powerful questions, and I realized that's when it started. Living the everyday life, just going about it. I never thought that, I thought I was living my own life, but when I think about it, I wasn't. I was just going with the normal routine of what I was supposed to be doing. And I felt as though if I don't tell my story, there's going to be people that I want to help that will miss it. And I'm all about attracting my tribe and helping as much people as possible. So
I love that. So your story, you talk about, you know, the passing of your grandmother in your story, and your story highlights the moment you realized how much your jobs, policies, and were controlling your personal choices. What advice would you give to others who feel trapped by kind of external expectations and obligations?
Ask questions, because what I realized was I wasn't really talking to my bosses. I would just come in and work, do what they asked me to do what they said I should do. And it's like a robot, just go, go, go. And after, you know, going through personal growth, I realized I wasn't asking any questions. I was just doing. And even though there's policies and procedures, when we're in the day-to-day, we don't remember what those policies are when something traumatic happens. For instance, about bereavement. I completely forgot I had 3 days. I took 1 day off and then I went back to work. Not because, oh, I needed to be around somebody or, you know, keep myself busy. I forgot in that moment. And then afterwards, I was like, oh my goodness, how many people are in the moment and forget what they're allowed to do? And then our bosses won't remind us. They won't say, oh, you know, you have 3 days. No, just take the rest of the day off. Well, where's the rest of the info I'm supposed to know about? Because right now I'm not thinking.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that when you're, you know, gripped in grief like that, you're not processing things logically.
Yeah.
You talk about the role of meditation and visualization in your transformation. And, you know, I find a lot of people in the world are really misinformed about meditation in particular, but even visualization. So, you know, explain these two processes and how someone new to these practices can start incorporating them into their daily routine, even if they feel intimidated or unsure about it.
So with visualization, to be honest, me working with kids brought me back to using my imagination again and visualizing what I want my life to actually be. Because yes, I was visualizing things, but in an unresourceful way, like using stories. For instance, if there's some oh, I want to go to the store. Well, what if they don't have what I need? Then I have to go to another store. Then I have to go searching. And it's almost like I create a panic, like, what do I do? But now I switched it and it's positive. Well, I want to go on a trip. I want to go to the beach. Well, what beach are we going to? Oh, let's go to Miami. How are we getting there? Flight first class. I can create those visualizations and make it happen. And it's like, even if I don't get there by plane, I'm still getting to my destination. Don't worry about the how. It's the end result that you're looking for. And so that's how I got into manifestation. But with meditation, it's just going within yourself, taking a deep breath, and just being in a quiet room and just being. And it's still telling yourself a story, but positive affirmations and what you're going to do. That's all it is. Some people think, oh, you're going to put a hex on me or something. You could do it yourself. I don't have to say anything to you.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of times when I talk to people about things like meditation, self-hypnosis, visualization, I'll hear people say, oh, I tried that. It didn't work. And well, okay, tell me what happened. You tried it and what happened? Well, I wanted to make $100,000, but I meditated and I only made $87,000 that year. Right. And it's like, well, how much did you make before? Oh, I made $40,000 the year before. And what is it about? A lot of times when we tell people to visualize, they think it has to turn out exactly the way that they visualized it. Otherwise it didn't work. But we have to shift our focus a little bit, right?
Exactly. It's the fact that is that what you had before? No. Well, then there is still progress. Mm-hmm. To them, there's like, well, it's not exactly what I wanted. It's still progress. Why are you so hard on yourself that you didn't get there, but you were closer than you were before? Aren't you? You know what? Yeah, okay. It's asking those powerful questions to get them to, not to get them to say, but for them to realize I am better where I am now than I was before. And celebrating those small wins. It'd be the tiniest of things, the tiniest. Celebrate it. And then it turns into a pattern. Every single time, just celebrate. Give yourself grace, celebrate. And then it's like, okay, now you have a new outcome. Go for it.
That is really the beauty sometimes of having a coach, right? When we get down on ourselves, we've got that coach outside of us to go, hang on a minute, you made $47,000 more this year, and just to remind us that we actually are winning, because so often people think they aren't when they really are.
Yeah, they just want to keep going. Okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Pause. Smell the roses. Smell the flowers. Celebrate you. You did that. We're just like, as coaches, we're just guides, but you did that. You put in the work. They think, oh, I'm just going to visualize it. You also have to put in the work. You can work backwards. How you're resourceful. Everything is within us. And even if not, there's Google. Now there's ChatGPT. There's ways for you to find the answer.
Absolutely. So one of the things you emphasize in your chapter is taking small. I mean, most people think they have to take these large, huge steps in order to change their lives, but you emphasize taking small daily steps to reclaim your power and align with your true desires. So what's one small action that someone can take today to begin moving forward from feeling stuck to feeling empowered?
So one thing is, when I wake up in the morning, I determine what my day is going to be like. Meaning, today we're going to have a great day. No matter what happens, today is going to be an awesome day. And I like to test things. Have background in biology, so it's like being in the lab. Well, let me test it. Oh my goodness, today's a great day. And I also tested on my daughter too. And I'm like, she's like, I asked her, what did you tell yourself this morning? I said I was going to have a great day. And how did your day turn out? It actually turned out great. And I said, even in a 13-year-old could do it. So why can't, we're just big kids. I'm a big 10-year-old. So it's that small. Determining how you want your day to go can change everything too.
You know, it's funny because a lot of times I'll have people, they'll want something. Let's say they want to travel, or they want a new job, or they want to get into a relationship, and they're stuck, they're frozen, right? And then I'll say, why are you stuck? Fear of the unknown, right? And my answer to that is, if you have a fear of the unknown, it means you haven't decided what's going to happen yet. Because once you decide, now you know.
Exactly. That was me. I was fearful of, and telling myself, I can't do that because of this. I can't do that because this person, I was a people pleaser. I can't. Well, if you can't, you won't. And that's where I was. And so now it's, I can do that. I did that. It's because, and also how I talk to other people, because our subconscious doesn't know whether, it can't differentiate whether we're talking to somebody else or ourselves. So I say it's greener on the other side of the grass. It's greener on the other side. And I'm watering my grass. I am watering it daily.
I love that. So you talked about the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference, right? Talk a little bit more about that.
Our minds are so beautiful, and we, half the time we don't do it disservice. The stories we create, and we ruminate on the unresourceful stories, and then we think that it really happened. No, it didn't. It's just something we told ourselves. How can you switch that so that when you're waking up in the morning, you're happy despite whatever is going on? Because it just, how can I say this? It leaves a trail of crumbs when we look back, and then we're able to reframe. There's a quote by Steve Jobs that says, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And it was another aha moment. And I love connecting the dots. So the subconscious is like, we can go back and see where this started, but then we can also reframe it and then move forward. Go backwards, reframe it, move forward. If you really want a better life, you can do it. The visualizations, the meditations, the affirmations, putting in any kind of work to do the transformation, you'll get there.
What would you say to somebody that says, this is all just like positive thinking stuff?
Try it. Try it for yourself. It's not just positive thinking, because we also have to go, like I said, backwards, do the deep work, and then move forwards. It's not always positive. It is daily work. It is a lifestyle. We're going to go outside. We're going to allow someone to make us upset. Emotional regulations. We're going to allow fear to come in. We're going to allow something to make us feel guilty. It's not all positive, because when those come up, what are you going to do to change that?
That's right.
We have to be at cause.
I love it.
Some of it. Yeah.
All right. We're here promoting our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Georgia is a co-author in the book, wrote an amazing chapter. So Georgia, if people want to work with you, who do you work with? How do you help them? And how can people follow you or connect with you?
I work with women, mostly single moms, career women who feel like they're carrying the weight of the world alone, and they're tired of putting themselves last and are living in survival mode. But you can find me at mindsetmajesty.com/contact or support@mindsetmajesty.com.
And I love this. And so what would you say about, maybe women who don't feel like they have permission to do this kind of work? So I think that's really important to address.
It really is. Give yourself permission. We're always looking for the outside to give ourselves permission. Try it. Trial and error. The worst is but being told no and not working, keep going. Keep going.
That's so powerful. You know, like you said, we always are expecting somebody else outside of us to give us permission to things. And really the true power, and for some people, it just comes so late in life, is when you go, forget everyone else. I'm giving myself permission. Because
Exactly.
nobody else is going to give it to you.
Nope.
Everybody else is too wrapped up in their own life to worry about you, you know.
Very much so. Very much. Very much.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Georgia. It has been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
All right. And now we are going to bring on our next amazing author, which is Rose Davidov. And she wrote chapter 17. And Rose is a mother of three, a passionate floral designer, a published author, speaker, and board-certified master practitioner of NLP and hypnotherapy. Her journey is shaped by a deep connection to nature and a calling to help others awaken their true potential through healing and transformation. Inspired by the resilience of flowers, she believes in the power of discovery and personal growth. Rose is dedicated to guiding others towards self-love, purpose, and flourishing in their own lives. In this chapter, Rose shares her personal journey of self-discovery, healing, and transformation. She reflects on the importance of asking, who am I? And describes how reconnecting with her true self beyond roles and expectations was the key to her growth. Through spirituality, neurolinguistic programming, and gratitude for both challenges and joys, Rose learns to embrace her light, overcome fear, and inspire others to do the same. Ultimately, her story is about having courage to be authentic, rediscover childhood dreams, and step bravely into a fulfilled, purpose-driven life. So welcome, Rose.
Hello, Michael. I can't believe I'm here. Thank you so much.
Yay. We're
Thank
finally here.
We're finally here, and I can't stop smiling. I don't think I will.
Yay. So tell us what inspired you to write your chapter in this book, The Courage to Win?
Oh my goodness. I think the biggest thing that comes to mind right now is when I was a kid, I got really scared. And that caused me to stutter till about my mid-20s. So I think right now I'm utilizing my voice to actually speak up and help others find their voice as well. What has inspired me? My children will always be my inspiration. I really want them to be not just leaders, but thinkers, to connect to themselves, to connect to their soul, to connect to who they truly are, and find their own path in life, not influenced by, kind of like following the sheep.
I love it. And one of the things in your introduction that really struck me is inspired by the resilience of flowers. You know, most people, I think, when they look at flowers, they think that flowers are delicate, but anywhere you go in nature, you will find flowers surviving. They will even grow up through rocks, right? And so flowers are resilient. And so I'd love for you to talk about, what was this realization for you about flowers, and how does that relate to what you do today?
Oh my goodness. So my name Rose has been given to me by my grandfather, who, when I was born, had bone marrow cancer, and he was on his deathbed. So I was nameless for about a month, and then a miracle happened, and he survived his diagnosis. And when he came out of the hospital, he's the one who gave me my name, Rose. And it only took me about 30 years to discover that this is what I love to do. I was in corporate accounting. I have my master's in business administration. I was a controller. I lost my job in corporate America of 20 years. And there were moments when I said, I am going to follow what I wanted to follow and do when I was a child. And that is, floral designing. I think working with nature and working with flowers and connecting yourself and grounding yourself. And each piece of flower is really a work of art. And this is what every single human is. We are a work of art. We are blossoming, we are growing, we are changing, we are transitioning, we are facing challenges, we are kind of getting through the dirt. And when you are facing those challenges, you have to remember that you're like seeds, and you got to get through the dirt. And that's the exciting part about it. So that's how I connect neurolinguistics with nature.
I love it. In your chapter, you beautifully described the moment you first asked yourself the question, who am I? And the journey that question sparked for you. So can you share how that moment of self-inquiry changed the course of your life, and what advice you have for others who are afraid to ask themselves that same question?
Oh, that's a really scary, scary question. You have to be able to face it, and you have to be ready to face it. So when I lost my corporate job, I remember sitting in my car and crying just hysterical tears. And I knew that I'm going to have to jump right back on it, start looking for another work in corporate accounting, but that's not even who I am. Like, what am I doing with my life? And I was sitting in my car and I spoke to a friend, and I'm crying, and there she is smiling at me radiantly. And she clapped and she said, "Congratulations, you're finally on the right path." So that was such a pivotal moment for me because I was so afraid to be judged. But she actually congratulated me. So what came after that? I had a friend who said to me, "How are you supposed to get anywhere in life if you don't even know who you are?" And I said, "What do you mean I don't know who I am?" I was really offended by that statement because, your ego steps in, and then you start saying, "I'm a mom, I'm an accountant, I'm this and I'm that." And it's all these labels, but it's not truly who you are. So when I had an opportunity, and these thoughts, they will nag at you, they will bother your soul, they will be there until you're ready to face them in the quiet moment. And I did have a quiet moment on the way to visiting my family. I was on a train for a few hours, and I started answering this question: who am I in my soul? Not the title I have, not anything that anyone defines me as, not the labels, not the generational, whatever it is that I picked up, not who I am in their eyes, but who am I in my eyes? And Michael, I have to say, it was the scariest realization because along with beautiful things, there were also dark shadows that I wanted to work on myself. And facing that is scary, but it's such a beautiful experience. It's life-changing.
What would you say to people who don't want to see those dark shadows?
You will. You will. Because while we are constantly keeping ourselves occupied, whether it's through work, whether it's family, kids, or electronics, there will be quiet moments in your life where you will hit a point where it's just going to keep nagging at you and just keep, kind of like speaking from inside. And in quiet moments, you will face it. You can't escape it.
I love it. So you talk about in your chapter reconnecting with your childhood self and rediscovering old passions like flower arranging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So often we have these things that we love when we're children, and then they're sort of like drilled out of us. We're not allowed to do those things anymore. We're told that, we have to grow up. And talk about, the power of, number one, is it okay to reconnect with those childhood passions? But number two, the power of that.
It's so necessary, Michael. I feel like it's very sacred. It's not selfish. A lot of people say, "Well, I can't do that. I have a family, I have responsibilities." But it's sacred. It's a moment of understanding who you are, and you could take a few minutes and discover that. My mom used to say to me, "Start writing again, start writing again, start writing again." And I was like, "Mom, that's just childhood dreams." But look what happened. I gave myself that opportunity, that chance, and look where it's taken me. A friend of mine also said to me that who you were as a child are the gifts that are given to you, for you to build your journey around. So whenever I have clients, I usually ask them, "What did you enjoy doing when you were a kid?" And Michael, they light up. It's like another world. They just light up. They come see me and they're all like, they're very kind of like their eyes are just lowered and they're not very happy. And they light up when you ask them, "Who were you when you were a kid?" So maybe do something to build off of that. I think it's really a sacred moment between you and your journey. You owe it to yourself.
Yeah, I feel like so many people feel like when they grow up, they become a different person. But, ultimately, you're just building layers on that person who you are, and who you were then never really goes away.
No, it doesn't. And then, like most people, like in their 40s, you go back and now you have to peel off all those layers and really discover who you are. So right now, I feel that as a mother, it's my responsibility to truly guide my kids, to allow them to see what they're great at, what's their greatness, and maybe build off of that. You know, my son, he's always been very good with his hands. So when he says to me he wants a career in something that doesn't fit that, I try to remind him, and he just kind of like starts glowing again. So guiding your kids, because I feel that if I was guided in that way, I wouldn't waste 20 years of my life. But at the same time, I didn't waste it, because look where it brought me.
I love it. You talk about the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone and allowing yourself to be seen, and even here's a word that comes up a lot in these chapters, vulnerable, right? What are a few practical steps that someone can take to overcome their fear of visibility and their fear of vulnerability to start sharing their authentic self with the world?
I feel that you owe it to yourself, to your journey, and to God. We all have like a fingerprint. There's a different kind of a light that's glowing inside each and every single person. To not be able to share that, you have to live your life in a very legendary way. And to do that, you have to be able to shine, show your authenticity, because then you're giving others permission to do the same. And I think that when I talk to people now, anyone that crosses my path, I try to see something in them, to pull it out of them, to give them that permission to shine, because they're so programmed, they're so afraid to be judged, Michael. And give yourself that freedom just to be yourself, and you'll see that it's life-changing. Because I used to hide behind my cubicle. I was a very lonesome person. You know, I didn't have a big surrounding. I was just a mom, work, home. And once I gave myself that permission, my entire world changed. It really, really did. I'm not the same person.
So you emphasize in your chapter this, and this is I think such an important thing for people to hear, right? The power of gratitude, even for painful experiences.
Especially painful experiences.
Especially painful experiences.
Especially, yes.
I want you to speak to that, because I know that so often people will be like, oh, I'm grateful for that, you know, BMW I have in the driveway, and I'm grateful for my dog. And people think that gratitude is just, it's a state of loving the things that you love. But the power in gratitude is finding gratitude in the things that you don't. Talk about that.
I always say that I am extremely grateful. I'm so blessed with my family and my kids. But what gives me the strength and the power of becoming who I am today and where I'm going in my life are only challenges, are only moments where I was just so sad and so vulnerable. And it takes years and years and years for you to actually say that I just can't. And it starts like kind of like nagging at you little by little by little, but then it smacks you on the head with a hammer. So when those challenges are the only opportunities that you get to crawl out of your comfort zone, it's not the happy moments, it's the difficult ones.
That's so powerful, and has been a really powerful shift in my life. I remember watching a documentary years ago, and the woman in the documentary said, at one point I learned to be grateful for my challenges. And I was like, wait, what? Like, wait, what? Grateful for my challenge? And I had to rewind that and listen to that passage like 6 times before I finally started realizing it. And there's such huge power in that. So we are here promoting our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. Rose, of course, is one of our co-authors and wrote an amazing chapter. So Rose, if people want to work with you or if they want to follow you, tell us, who do you work with? How do you help them? And how can people contact you?
I can't even imagine. I never could imagine where I'm at right now, Michael, and where neurolinguistics had led me. I can talk about this for days and days. But I work with young and going to old. I work with kids that are 3 years old. I do floral classes and I apply neurolinguistics. I motivate them to believe in themselves, to say how wonderful they are. And now I started working with senior living facilities with people that have dementia, Alzheimer's, and I'm cheering them on. I'm sparking, memories from their past, doing all of that through floral designing. And it's very emotional. It's very vulnerable. There's a lot of tears. It's just wonderful. I work with women. I'm an empowerment speaker. I'm just trying to inspire anyone that comes across my path. And I do that through floral and soil workshops.
I love it. And how can people contact you and follow you?
They can find me at www.journeysinbloom.com.
Journeysinbloom.com. I love that. What a beautiful combination of two things that I never would have thought have been combined before, right? Floral arrangements and NLP.
Isn't it crazy? Thank you so much, Michael, for this program, to you and Kayla. It's just been such an empowering, beautiful community. I could never be grateful enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. And next, we are bringing on our final author for the day, David M. Fedor. In his chapter is Your Feelings Are Real, Everything Else is Questionable. David is the owner and founder of Unamalgamated. Thank you. Unamalgamated Life, where he coaches men seeking certainty in their lives. He specializes in helping married men develop masculine spiritual certainty for stronger relationships and personal growth. With 8 years of experience, Dr. Fedor has personally coached hundreds of men to build confidence and clarity, particularly in marriage dynamics and male-female relationships. As the creator of the Frame Masculinity, he provides a blueprint to men to thrive in both personal and relational areas. In his chapter, David challenges the popular belief that feelings are not factual, asserting instead that our feelings are always real and accurate reflections of our inner state. He explains why feelings themselves are true. The stories and thoughts that follow them are often questionable and should be crucially and critically examined. Using the concepts of the trigger tree, he illustrates how triggers lead to feelings, which then spark stories, wants, actions, and ultimately results. Dr. Fedor encourages readers to fully feel their emotions, question the stories they tell, and then by doing so, make more empowered actions to create positive changes in their lives. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Michael. Good
Pleasure
to be here.
have you. Thank you.
Likewise.
So tell us what inspired you to write this chapter in the book, The Courage to Win?
So I didn't want to do it. I wanted to write the chapter, but I didn't want to be an author or really do any of this. I'm a critical care physician by trade. So I take care of ICU patients, so that, my journey to this was not because of that. But I had in 2018 a crisis in my marriage and in my life where I realized that most of what I was doing was based on unfelt feelings. God allowed me to do some really stupid things, and I won't get into here, but they're really, really dumb, that brought me to my knees and ultimately saved me. And what's funny about getting to know Jesus was he saves you. You're not condemned anymore from your sin, which is awesome, but you're still you, and you need to figure out exactly what it is that's wrong. And I realized that my biggest problem was that I was the nicest guy you'd ever meet. I smiled, I was always cheerful, but it's because I didn't think that I was allowed to be anything other than that. So what happened was I realized that I had all these pent up feelings, and like most nice guys, I wasn't very kind, and I was very resentful, very selfish, and very angry. And I started to ask myself, why was I so angry all the time? And it was because I didn't feel any of my feelings. The only feeling that I really wanted to feel was numb. The smile was fake. The happiness was fake. I mean, I think in 2016 or 17, I won the Happiest Physician Award, which was just such a, looking back at it, such a lie. So I sat and started thinking, well, what's wrong with me? And I realized and recognized that I didn't ever want to feel feelings. So I took what those feelings were giving me and ran with it while trying to ignore the feeling. I believed the lie of feelings aren't factual, when at the end of the day, the only thing I know for certain is how I feel. If I feel sad, I'm sad. What I'm sad about is what I should question. And when I started doing that, I started realizing what was wrong.
That's really, really powerful. It's interesting because you're in this realm of mindset, but also a medical doctor as well. And, Dr. John Sarno, one of the things he talks about, the cause of chronic pain, the majority of chronic pain is two things. He says perfectionism and do-goodism. And I would say what you're referring to kind of falls into that category of do-goodism, that your affect, if you will, was for other people, that you were not experiencing your own feelings, but you were feeling for other people.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would take their feelings on as my own, feel their feelings, and then be responsible for that feeling, while the whole time not feeling my own. So looking at it in a way, in an empathetic way, to a point where I would be able to relate to their feelings, but then I took it to a toxic level where I would take their feelings. Be like, hey, they're sad. They shouldn't be sad. Let me take that sadness on. But now that I have sadness, I'm not supposed to be sad. I'm only supposed to feel happy. So what do I do with this? So then I would start to resent them, because the story would be it's their fault that I have this feeling I shouldn't have. That I would believe the story that I shouldn't ever feel anything but happy. But objectively speaking, I wasn't happy. I was sad for them and myself. Then I would go home and I'd have to deal with my wife, who I love dearly, but she's another person and she wouldn't want things off me. So I would fall into this victim mentality of everything is everybody else's fault because I'm not supposed to feel anything other than happy, but yet I don't feel happy. I've taken on all of these people's pain that they're giving me, and it's their fault, which isn't true. And same thing with my wife, which isn't true. That's when I realized, what if I asked myself, is that true about the story I was telling myself? And that's where all of that came from.
It's so powerful. I mean, that's truly an emotional crisis, right?
Yeah.
And it drains you. And I say this from experience because I've been there before. So in your chapter, you argue that our feelings are always real and factual, and it's the stories we tell that are not, that we need to question. How do people separate those two things out and determine what are my feelings and what is the story?
Beautiful question. The way that I teach this is I say, take a breath, take a beat. So if you start to feel something, I don't care if it's happy, mad, glad, sad, good feeling or bad. And what I mean by good and bad are feelings you want versus feelings you don't. Anger isn't bad. Sadness isn't bad. It's just unwanted. Happiness isn't necessarily good. It's wanted. When you're having that feeling, you will immediately, within a millisecond, start to have a story about that feeling. I'm mad because, I'm sad because, I'm glad because. When you hit the because, take a breath, take a beat, and feel the feeling. Sit in the feeling, if just for a second, before you immediately go to the story, which will lead to a reaction, action, result, the whole thing of the trigger tree. If you pause in that feeling, you have the opportunity to go, okay, well, I'm gonna validate my reality of sadness, of anger. And I'm gonna validate it because that's how I feel. And that's real. Because I can't fake how I feel, so it's real. It's real how I feel. Let me pause, sit in it, and then go, okay, now what do I think about this feeling? Because what I think about the feeling is the opportunity. Because what I think about it's possibly incorrect. And if I jump to conclusions of everything I think being real, then I start having actions driven by potential lies, which will get me something that I don't want. So it's all about taking a breath, taking a beat, sitting in the feeling, and going, okay, I feel this. What's the story?
That's huge. That's such a huge distinction for most people. You, in your chapter, you introduced this concept of a trigger tree, which is a new concept to me, without giving away too much, because of course we want people to go to getcourage.net and buy the book. High level, explain what a trigger tree is and how it's useful.
Okay, so every reaction we have, every inner living our lives we're emotional creatures. We're logical, we're also emotional. And those two things are in a constant war. But they're actually allies. The lie that has been told over and over again from a good place, from a very good place, is that your feelings aren't factual, when in reality, they are absolutely true. How you feel is absolutely true at any given time. I'm very joyful right now to be on this call. That's true. I wasn't in a great mood when I woke up this morning because I didn't sleep well. That's also true. So we're told a lie in order to get us to be comfortable. So hey, you know what? Your feelings aren't factual. Well, no, they are. What people are trying to say is what's driven by those feelings you should question. So the trigger tree pretty much says, when you have a feeling, you're not ever feeling anything in isolation. There's always something in your mind logically talking about that feeling. I don't just sit in happiness with a blank mind. Like, that never happens. I know I'm not angry with a blank mind. I'm angry with thoughts. Well, those thoughts are what are going to guide what you want, which is going to guide what you do, which is going to guide what you get. So the trigger tree pretty much explains how you operate, how we all operate in the world, and gives you the opportunity to break that down into steps that happen like this, but expand out. And you go, okay, well, if my feelings are true and everything downstream from my feelings are questionable, if I feel my feelings and then start to challenge all of this, I might be able to change what I get. And what most people do is ignore the feeling and believe what they think is true. So feel your feelings, question everything else, is the trigger tree at a high level.
That's really, really powerful. One of the things that you talk about in your chapter is the idea of feeling emotions deeply and sitting in them rather than suppressing them or avoiding them. And this is something in particular I learned in my life when it comes to grief. The longest periods of grief that I've ever felt, like when my grandmother passed away in 1995, were when I suppressed. And the shortest feelings of grief when my best friend passed in 2009 is when I literally sent my son to his grandparents' house and I sat in my apartment and just sat in it for 3 days and felt it. And it's so opposite of what most people want to do. So speak to that and why it's a good idea to sit in emotions deeply.
Emotions are a gift from God. We don't have any emotions that God didn't give us. There may be things we don't like about them. I don't like grief. I don't like being sad. I mean, a lot of the men I coach, I become the coach of feelings. People call me that all the time. And they think that because I'm the coach of feelings, I enjoy all feelings. No, I do not. I don't like being sad. I don't like being frustrated. I'm a human being. But I know that if I have those feelings, they're there for a reason. You know, mourning specifically is a great example. People who are allowed to mourn tend to move forward into joy of the memory of their loved one passing. Now, there are cultures where you are expected to grieve, expected to mourn. It's like, get in your house and grieve until you're done and then rejoin society. Why? Because we know that's good for you. And it's the same with any feeling. You have it for a reason. If you push it aside, it doesn't go away. It just goes into this tank that gets filled up, and then it explodes with all your unfelt feelings at a moment when you don't want that to happen. So it's not comfortable, but play the long game of what does this look like if I feel all these feelings slowly, methodically, and then what's the gift on the other side?
Yeah. And as a medical doctor, I mean, one of the things I'd like to hear from you is your opinion on what happens when you put that negative emotion in a tank and it just sits in there. What happens to your body?
Oh, it's you know, I am more and more convinced the longer I've been a physician since 2003. So the longer I do this, the more I realize a fair number of our chronic illnesses, probably autoimmune diseases, stress-related things, are because of unfelt feelings and trapped emotions that you shove down, sometimes since you were 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, or even heck, a year ago. And you just keep shoving it into this box, and your body is amazing. It'll hold on to it, but there's a cost. You're going to accelerate your aging. You're going to be using resources that would otherwise be used to heal yourself to keep that at bay. Like a healing factor that is constantly trying to deal with poison and everything else is kind of falling apart. And then you end up with chronic illnesses and all these other things.
Yeah, I think this is, one of those things that's not just positive mindset, right? This has an effect on your body as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have an obligation to yourself to release these things. It's not just what you're trapping inside your head, you're trapping it in your body as well. So we're here today promoting our brand new book, The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset and Conquer Every Obstacle. David, of course, is one of our co-authors and wrote an amazing chapter talking about the trigger tree and how you can question. You don't question your emotions. You question the story you're telling yourself. So, David, if people want to work with you, who do you work with? How do you help them? And how can people contact you or follow you?
Sure. I work with men specifically because that's who I am. There's nothing wrong with women. I love women, but I'm not a woman, so I don't coach them. And I help men find this, masculine spiritual certainty, which is the most powerful commodity a man could have. I help them with that. I have a specific focus on relationships, specifically married men or men in long-term relationships, to help them gather this, to lead their wife, lead their children, and understand why they're not where they should be. I'm a guide. I'm not an expert because I guide from what I've had to go through. So that's who I work with. To find me, really, it's simple. I don't have a website. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and X at David M. Fedor.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, David. It has been a pleasure. Again, we're here promoting our brand new book, which is called The Courage to Win. Shift your mindset, conquer every obstacle. Our goal is to get this book to be #1 bestseller, because I think it's about time that we had a positive book that actually changes lives being #1 instead of some of the junk that's out there. The way that you can help us is to go to www.getcourage.net. Not only will this book change your life for $6.81, but we're going to give you $1,000 in free gifts just for helping us out during the launch. So the launch is today, May 17th, tomorrow, May 18th. If you buy it before midnight on May 18th, tomorrow night, we'll just do it now. Then we're going to give you $1,000 in gifts, including a gift that David has put together, a gift that I've put together. All of us co-authors have put together amazing gifts. So thank you so much, David. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Okay, everybody, that is it for our part 1 of the virtual book tour. We got our first 10 authors today. Tomorrow, we have 9 of our authors. One of them, unfortunately, is not able to join us tomorrow. But come and join us tomorrow. We'll be talking to the other authors from The Courage to Win, Shift Your Mindset, and Conquer Every Obstacle. This book is absolutely amazing. You know, there's something just really powerful that happens when you bring, you know, I mean, obviously one book written by one author is a great thing, but when you bring disparate people together who all have one mission, but we all have different stories, we all have different experiences, we all have different learnings. A really powerful thing happens, and that's really what happened in this book. It's an amazing book. I know you're going to love it. Again, the website is getcourage.net, getcourage.net, and you can go get it. It's just $6.81. Now, question that comes up a lot, people go, can I just go buy it on Amazon? Yes, you're going to get it on Amazon, but please make sure you get it through our website, right? Because the website is going to give you instructions on how to get the $1,000 in gifts. Amazon's not going to give you those instructions. If you buy it from Amazon, they're just going to give you, you know, a receipt. But make sure that you go through getcourage.net. Go there, click the button that says get the paperback. There's 3 simple steps that you follow to get the book and get the gifts. All right. You need to email us your Amazon receipt. And so make sure that you do that through getcourage.net. I will put the link here in the chat, and I will pop it up on the screen here as well. I know you're going to love the book, and it really helps us out because we really think that a good positive book, especially on neurolinguistic programming, which a lot of the authors are, I think almost all the authors are certified in NLP. I think it deserves to be at the top spot. So please help us out. And we are currently making waves. We are currently the #1 new release in neurolinguistic programming. Now, we got a long way to go to get the #1 bestseller. #1 new release is a different thing, right? So help us out. Go get your copy of the book, and yeah, we will shower you with gifts. And by the way, when I say gifts, I know a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, it's going to be some 5-page PDF. No, I'm actually giving away a copy of my training that was recorded from a live training. It's called Mindset to Profit. It's all about wealth mindset. It will help you correct your wealth mindset and reach your belief systems for unlimited abundance. And that's a course that I normally charge $197 for. That's not a contrast price. That's the actual price that we charge for it. You'll be able to get that $197 course for just $6.81 when you buy this book, as well as many gifts. The gifts, by the way, are things like we have courses in there. We have recorded sessions. We even have a couple of people doing live sessions. So many great gifts in there. You're going to be like swimming in valuable stuff just for $6.81. And so real quick, this is the website, getcourage.net. And if you go there, you can read about the book. You can read about the authors, and you can click the Get It button or get the paperback now, and that will take you to the instructions. You can also come here, and virtual book tour links are here, so you can watch the replay from Saturday, or you can, well, if you're watching this, you don't need to watch the replay. But tomorrow, Sunday, May 18th at 9 a.m., we're going to start our second phase, and I'll be interviewing 9 of the other authors in the book. And all you have to do is come here to getcourage.net/tour, and then click on that watch live on Sunday. We'll be live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I think that's it. All right. Hopefully you got the book. There we are right now. #1 new release in neurolinguistic programming. I am excited about that. And on our way, hopefully, to #1 bestseller. So please help us out. It's only $6.81. Even if you don't want the book for yourself, get a copy to help us out, and then you can gift the book to somebody who really needs it. I guarantee you know somebody in your life who really needs courage and who really needs to step up in their life, needs a positive message. And I mean, heck, buy 2 copies, buy 5, buy 10. There's always other people in your life who need help as well. So thank you so much for hanging out with us on the virtual book tour part 1. I will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time, early, or 12 if you're on the East Coast, and for part 2. All right. Hakalao, everybody. Thank you. Bye.